Is there a director that captures Gen X? Spielberg, I guess, but he had so many great movies of the 70s, though. I'm going to give you John Hughes. There's an underrated movie called Dutch with Ed O'Neill, Curly Sue, Weird Science, The Great Outdoors. If you've not seen that one, you owe it to yourself. John Candy and Dan Aykroyd together is just so good in that one. Speaking of candy, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, Uncle Buck, the Vacation movies, the Home Alone movies, Pretty in Pink, 16 Candles, and of course, The Breakfast Club. But what about Ferris Bueller's Day Off? That movie turns 40 years old this year. And if there's a movie that captures both the decade and that era in general, it's got to be it. This film blends perfectly the cartoonish, buffoonish school principal bad guy with almost this superhero main character that gets over on all the adults and his sidekick. Man, everybody knew a Cameron. If you didn't know a Cameron, you were the Cameron. And frankly, he's my favorite character in the movie. I think this movie is about Cameron. So we're going to talk about this today, and we're going to do it with Mark Boucher. Let's start that right now. Welcome in, Mark.
Hello, Scott. How you doing?
We are doing it up today. You heard the intro there. This movie really encapsulates that era. Let me start by making an addendum.
Okay.
When I said this movie captures that era better than any of his movies, if I'm honest, it's probably The Breakfast Club.
I don't disagree. Or Pretty in Pink. I mean, any of those are almost on the same level. Yeah, as far as capturing the angst of high school.
Yeah.
In the 80s.
It probably captures it, Fast Times. There's a lot of them, but Bueller does it well.
I actually remember seeing it the very first time. I remember going to the theater and seeing it. And I think I actually went back and saw it again. It was one of those movies.
That's not a big deal for you. I remember you telling me, like, breathlessly, "Hey, man, I'm in line to see Ted. We just saw it." Like, okay.
Yeah. I'm not surprised. I think I saw Ted 2 or 3 times, yeah.
Yeah, the talking bear. You called me between them to, breath, "Get out here." Like, okay.
I'm going back in, man. I'm going to see it again.
Yeah, so, I mean, the fact that you ran like you're getting off a roller coaster and run into the line again, it's not that surprising.
That's me. Yep.
All right, so here's the deal. The Hughes films, like I mentioned in the intro, they all feel connected. That not like the Marvel movies. It's not like a universe. It kind of is. It's that same town, same suburb, but more by, not plot, but more by mood.
Yeah, mood and just feel and vibe. And, I think they have more of that glue the farther away we get from that decade when they were all set.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
That's so
true. Every year that goes by, they all kind of get glued together even better to the point you just made, because we miss that decade more every year that goes by.
Here's the prevailing thought of Ferris Bueller. He wasn't just skipping school. It's a day. First of all, there's no real way to spoil this movie. If you've not seen it, I think the 40-year rule is like, it's fair game now to mention, but it's hard. It would be hard to ruin this movie. You could tell the entire movie to someone and it would still be a great watch.
I think it's unique in that you could do that. You could tell somebody the entire movie, and instead of feeling spoiled, they're going to want to go watch it immediately.
Right. That's a great point. Yeah. So he was just running this one-day masterclass on how to get by as a teenage kid. And look, it's a melodrama. It's the 1980s version of Tying the Damsel Up, or, the bad guy with the curly mustache and the top hat. Like, it is over the top, cartoonish, particularly when Rooney's at the house trying to break in. And there's faint little cartoon noises when he's running down the sidewalk.
Yes.
Like, so it just moves that line. All the adults are kind of witless, but, first of all, the principal's the bad guy. His secretary is a riot.
Isn't the principal, is he the same guy that shut off the containment unit in Ghostbusters? That's not the same guy, is it?
I don't think so.
Equally doofy.
He is the same guy, though, that was arrested twice for failing to update his sex offender status in Florida.
Like, for real, in real life?
Absolutely, yeah.
Oh, my God. That fits, man.
Yeah,
that fits perfectly.
Yeah.
Especially because you think back about that whole exchange that he had with Bueller's sister in the doorway of the house.
And the scorching case of herpes.
Yeah. Oh, man, that tracks. Wow.
Well, she's a female, so not entirely. Yeah, everybody's welcome to go read the details of Jeffrey Jones on their own. But yeah, he fell in. He had a tough time. From cursing out who he thought was a parent on the phone
Mhm.
to being humiliated by a dog in some mud and some kids on a school bus. It does things to a man.
I mean, that would mess me up for the rest of the day.
So let's talk about the art of the fake out. The very first part of the movie where it's establishing that Ferris is just this slick kid whose yuppie parents are both working in Chicago, and she's a realtor, and it turns out he's an advertising guy. We find that later at the restaurant what he does.
You know, it's interesting the way it was produced and the way it was written. It didn't really matter what they did. They were yuppies with kids.
Right. Yeah, and it was just so perfect for the decade. First of all, advertising guys. Why are they always advertising? Darren Stevens, I think Leave It to Beaver's dad was in advertising.
I mean, why are they always written into stories and movies?
Yeah, why are the advertising guys always? I don't know.
Well,
Mad Men did a whole show
I have
about
a theory on that. Yeah, Mad Men, that's what it was about. I think it's because that the industries are so entwined to begin with. It's easy to write it.
Might be.
The entire broadcasting industry makes all of its money from the advertising department. That's where they get their money from. Same for movies.
So Ferris didn't just fake sick. This, like I said, this was massacre. He ran a full-on theatrical production. His sister, who knew he was full of crap, was there at the door, and she's aggravated that he gets by with everything. Winks at her. This movie pulled down that fourth wall brilliantly. Like over the top brilliant.
Yeah, the use of breaking the fourth wall was a masterfully used tool. But I think part of the reason why that hit home so well is because staying home from school was an art that we all practiced.
Right.
That wasn't that wasn't something that we all wished we could do. We all did it.
Do you ever have attempts where you did that where it worked?
Oh yeah, I remember. This was in high school. This was grade school though. But I learned that trick where you could take a hairdryer and you could aim it straight up and put a ping pong ball in the air, and the ping pong ball would just float in the air. It would just hover out, from the air cone of air coming out of a hairdryer, and
I don't think that'll let you stay home.
You could float this ball. No, that was why I stayed home, because I learned that trick, and I was like, this, I can't go to school now. I need to stay home and do that all day.
Oh my Lord.
I need to. Yeah. So I think I really did the thing where you hold a thermometer up to a light bulb to make it fake a fever, and I did that, and it worked. And I stayed home all day and played with my ping pong ball.
So you didn't go to a Cubs game or an art museum or a fancy restaurant. You played with a ping pong ball.
Home and played with physics all day long.
There's different levels. I get it.
Yeah. But there's a good point that Bueller made there that is relevant, and that is that when you're faking a fever, you can't overdo it. And when he went through a whole monologue on this about how when you're pretending to be sick, you got to pretend at the right level, because if you don't pretend enough, you got to go to school anyway. And if you pretend too much, you're going to end up with a trip to the doctor, and you don't want that either.
I said that's worse than school.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Well, my mom was a nurse, and I needed to have a whaling harpoon through my chest to stay home from school.
Oh, well, you're going to laugh at this. My mom also was a nurse, but she was. Oh, wow. You're about to go, well, that tracks. She was a psychiatric nurse.
Okay, yeah.
Go ahead, say it.
She said, "Wow, this kid. Look, in my professional opinion, he needs to stay home.
He does not need to be around other children today."
Oh boy, yeah. Okay, yeah, that does track.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, that's why I always do the dramatic pause when I tell people that my mom was a psychiatric nurse.
So let's talk about my favorite character of the movie, Cameron.
Yeah, you said Cameron.
He is. This movie is about him. He's the emotional center of the movie. His dad's Ferrari is the symbol of pressure, fear, control, all that nonsense. Ferris was the chaos agent, the guy that you painted with the broad brush, but the delicate strokes of this movie is absolutely Cameron.
I Completely agree. I agree with all your reasons for that. You know who my favorite character in the movie was?
The waiter.
Charlie Sheen.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. That was
He
a
had
good
a
one
3-minute,
at the very end.
3-minute part, maybe. No, that was wasn't even the very end. I think it was more like maybe 2/3 of the way through. But he was in the police station when,
Yeah.
but his delivery of playing the drugged out junkie was just absolutely spot on. And that part needed to be in there.
Right.
And he was a
Yeah.
micro love interest for his sister.
So every Gen X kid thought, there's no way this ends well. There's a little bit of anxiety, Cameron style anxiety with all of us when we saw that, the absolute just defiance of his dad there. First of all, let's talk about Cameron. When that scene when they're at the art museum, which really the movie turned at this point.
It did. It got a little bit more serious. It got I don't want to say dark, but dim.
Yeah.
A little bit.
When he's
a little tiny bit.
The Sunday afternoon painting that he looks at, was it? Oh boy. I don't know who did that. It was a pointillist painting. The young girl in the museum, he looks closer and closer at it. And it goes back to his face. And then it looks at this little girl who's holding her parents' hand. And in this serene, paradise at this lake.
Yeah.
And Frye's face, man, he just looks at this kid like, and that's what I'm missing. That's what
That's
I
what he
don't
wants
have.
to
It
have.
goes closer and closer to it, to where you can't even tell what it's just brush strokes on the
Pixels.
canvas.
Yeah.
And it's just so good. Also, if you'll notice briefly, they flash a scene with Nighthawks. The painting from the 40s that it's that cafe at night where people are just sitting at the counter.
When they're in the diner?
Yes.
I know the painting you're talking about.
Yes, it's just so lonely and everybody doing their own. And there's a couple of guys in there drinking coffee and another dude by himself. And it's not a focal point of the movie, or that scene rather, but it shows it like that. That is a picture of solitude, which is what Cameron was going through in his own home.
Yeah. Yeah.
So good.
Yeah. And everybody that we either us or we knew somebody first generation, first step away from us that had a family life like that. We could all relate to that.
Yep,
even if it wasn't us, it was our best friend. Yeah.
So let's talk about the other star of the show, the 61 Ferrari GT.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but they didn't have none of the cars they used in the movie were actual Ferraris, right? They were all kits.
No, there was one that they showed when they opened it up. Like they had they had one. It was valued at $350,000. It's now over 20 million.
Oh my God. Yeah. 1980s money. That's a lot of money. So the first time we see the car, that's an actual one?
That is. And then they took those diapers that Frye's dad rubbed it with and carried it away with those, I'm sure, because what a beautiful car.
Under steep supervision. Yeah.
Right. So
there's
they
probably
built
an insurance agent there at the time.
Oh, I imagine. They built three replicas. One had there's two different stories. One is a 408 cubic inch Ford Windsor. The other is a Ford 5.0 engine, which is in my truck. So I kind of have a Ferrari.
You kind of basically do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they had a replica. They had one of the replicas. They had three tiers. One was just fiberglass and plywood with no engine in it. And that's the one, of course, that they filmed in the trees that got destroyed.
Yeah.
But there was another one that sold for almost $400,000 in 2020 that had the Ford engine in it that, according to the crew, overheated all the time because it was just a rat rod of parts that was it concealed in this beautiful body. And so it didn't work right. But it was used for the scenes where they're driving around Chicago. But, good enough. Also, they were automatics because Bueller couldn't drive a stick.
Is that true?
Yes.
All right. So
yeah, Matthew Broderick. He learned to drive a stick later, just in time to go kill somebody in Ireland driving a stick on the roads over there. So that's cool.
That's a happy story.
Yeah, Ferris eventually.
So what? He went to Ireland and got in a car crash.
Yes. and someone died. And I guess he Ferris Buellered himself out of that too because he didn't do jail time. I don't know how he got by.
Yeah, before the cops showed up, he like ran a cable up into the ceiling and attached it to the driver's arm.
Right. Look at this guy. Yeah, I don't know how he did it, but
he made a snoring soundtrack that came out of the car stereo.
Man, that scene is just so, and that's what I meant by cartoonish. It was just so Roadrunner Coyote with all the contraptions like the Rube Goldberg, like everything had to work, the trophy on the string. And it was just so well done.
You know what I noticed too, with this last time when I was watching it, the Matthew Broderick character in Ferris Bueller's Day Off is basically the same character that he was in War Games.
Right.
Pretty much the same exact character.
Yeah. Well, Tom Cruise syndrome.
Yeah. I know exactly what you mean by that. Yeah, I agree.
Don't reinvent the wheel.
Yeah.
So the scene downtown, these guys made the most of their time. They went to a Braves game, Cubs and Braves. So they did a couple of innings there. We're on TV while Rooney is at the pizza place, the arcade, and the very game where they're at. They show him on screen. Rooney's there cleaning himself up.
And then, of course, the classic parade scene.
Read about that today. That was filmed over 2 different weekends. There was an actual German-American, it's von Steuben Day, and it's in Chicago, and they filmed it during there.
Didn't they get in some kind of flack because they didn't have permission to film or something? I don't remember. I heard something about that.
Yeah, I've heard 2 different accounts of that. One is that float was just added in without any kind of permit or anything, which kind of sounds very Pharisee, that probably didn't happen.
But by the same token, it was obviously choreographed because he had the girls surrounding him, and there was that one scene where he came up from behind all the German girls that were up on the float,
right,
singing
Dr.
Twist
Shane?
and Shout. Yeah, it was Dr. Shane.
Yeah.
Well, Dr. Shane first and then Twist and Shout, yeah.
Yeah, so I read about that. It was the first day of shooting, the existing crowds for the actual parade. The second was used together. They had 10,000 volunteers who responded to local radio calls to come out. They choreographed that whole routine. And
oh, wow.
Man, it's flawless.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's actually more cool than getting away with just, crashing a real parade.
Yeah, I don't know that this happens today. You had to have things perfectly aligned and hope that it works out. There would be drones everywhere. They would have to redo it. It would be CGI. It is the golden age of 80s movie greatness.
Yep. That's an interesting point, too, about the CGI, because you couldn't make a movie. Like, if they tried to make Ferris Bueller today with today's technology, it wouldn't be as good.
If you grew up when we did, chances are your best memories are sitting on a VHS tape somewhere. Birthday parties, family reunions, even that first camcorder Christmas morning. But those tapes don't last forever. That's where the Digitized Center comes in. They convert your old VHS tapes, camcorder tapes, reel-to-reels, photos, slides, smoke signals into high-quality digital files, so you can actually watch them again and again and share them with the people who matter. Don't let those moments fade away in a box in the attic. Not the people, the milestones, not the memories. Head over to thedigitizedcenter.com, check out thousands of 5-star reviews, and make the call to preserve your story. Use promo code FREENIGHTS for 60% off your order. That's FREENIGHTS for 60% off. Bring those memories back to life before they're gone for good. So let's talk about a couple of things that really stand out to me. First of all, the character of Rooney's secretary is just so good. She's not a major character, but she's got that perky upper Midwest kind of restaurant. They think he's a righteous dude. It's just so good.
Was she, and this might be a bit of a stretch, was she the same woman that played the waitress in, what was that Vin Diesel movie? Where he wakes up, they like kidnapped him and he wakes up in a diner and they like,
dude,
you don't know.
What was that Vin Diesel movie? Gives a shit.
Yeah. The second I said that just now, I realized it was somebody listening right now is driving their car going, yes, it was. That was the same waitress from that That Vin Diesel
Man,
movie.
she is just so good. When she when when he cusses out the dad, it's not the dad, but he thinks it's the dad, and then the secretary says, "Do you still want to?" Do you still want to? Like
And then the
something about
look
the
he gives her.
grandmother. Yeah, like oh my god, it's just so funny.
Yeah, you
And
just
then
go ahead and produce a corpse, and
right.
yeah, we'll let her go home.
So oh my gosh, and the silliness of it when he's running down the hallway and he slows down for every doorway window, just so the
To
kids
walk
doesn't
by
see
the
him
classrooms. Yeah,
losing his mind. Yes, and he runs, stops, runs. The house break-in was just absolute full-on Warner Brothers cartoon logic. He goes to the dog door, the dog's there, he loses his shoe, and he just rips his pants. He's just having a rough time.
and the sister's home as well, and they
Right.
scare each other in the kitchen. And that was a great scene too. That looked absolutely genuine when they scared each other.
Yes. Yeah, the dog attack, the mud. And, you know, Rooney didn't lose to Ferris, man. He just lost the concept of joy. He lost his mind on a quest to catch this kid. And he lost, I mean, his school could have been burning down. He was after one kid. It was just,
Yep.
yeah. You just kind of see like his fall into madness. And there's Ferris in the hot tub with Sloane. God, Sloane.
Well, Sloane was, yeah.
Dude, I got a weakness for brunettes. I have since I fell in love with Janice on The Price is Right when I was 4.
It's funny that you know the name of one of the people on The Price is Right.
Maria on Sesame Street, like dude,
Yeah,
a brunette.
I remember Maria on Sesame Street. I remember her very well.
I remember her very well. Anyway, so yeah, she's a handsome lady. That's why it works. You feel like you're part of it. Like it certainly had an audience. It was a teenage audience. So the protagonist of the movie, like we said, is Fry. He's got his hands in his pockets talking to the hero's girlfriend. They're going to different colleges very soon. They seem like they're lifelong buddies.
Mhm.
And it's sad. There's a crescendo coming to that. And Fry's been under his dad's thumb his whole life. I kind of fantasize. I wish I'd had a couple of conversations with my dad growing up. It wouldn't have been wrecking Dad's Ferrari, because Mick Herndon, the old cotton farmer from Mississippi, certainly had a Ferrari.
You keep saying Fry. You mean Cameron?
Yeah, it's his last name.
Oh, is Cameron Frye?
Yeah.
All right.
You want a little trivia nugget?
Yeah. Hit me.
Cameron wore an actual Gordie Howe jersey. Gordie Howe got wind of the script and sent one of his actual game-used jerseys for that movie.
No way. I grew up watching
Yes.
Gordie Howe in Hartford
With
playing for the Whalers.
with the sharpened elbows.
Yeah. And
Yes.
he played with his son on the same team for a while, Mark
Yep.
Howe. Well, that's pretty cool. So is he wearing that jersey in the movie?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't catch that. I did not catch that. I would have freaked out if I noticed that, because like literally used to drive into Hartford with my parents when I was a kid and watch the Hartford Whalers play.
What a great memory.
Yeah.
Yeah, they couldn't pull this off today. Ferris would have millions of followers on some kind of social media, sponsorships, beret sponsorship.
A beret
So let's talk-
sponsorship, man.
Let's talk a minute about how this movie still works. And it really does. A lot of those 80s movies, Weird Science is just goofy, but it's a check your brain at the door kind of movie anyway. And it was advertised as that. All, One Crazy Summer, all those 80s teen movies, which I still think are really good. This one, man, this one hits the fourth wall where he talks to you from the shower, the cool little ending, after the credits. Ferris talks to you again, like, go home. Like, every bit of this thing works.
That must have been one of the first movies where they did that at the end of the after the credits. Marvel does it after every movie.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Wouldn't be surprised if they invented that, or that. I mean, that started back in that era.
Yeah, I think it was just, keeping the theme of talking to the audience. And look, the character is very aware he's in a movie the whole time. He brings the audience into it in a way that isn't campy and isn't goofy. It's like I said, it holds up. All right. What's the lesson of the movie? Ferris is almost superhuman in this. Believe in yourself, blah, blah, confidence. I get it. Everybody knew one of those dudes. I knew one.
The lesson of the movie is don't wait for permission to enjoy being alive.
Boy. Save Ferris.
Say Ferris.
I don't trust this kid any further than I can throw him.
Well, with your bad knee, Ed, you shouldn't throw anybody. It's true.
What is so dangerous about a character like Ferris Bueller is he gives good kids bad ideas.
Oh, well, he's very popular, Ed. The sportos, the motorheads, geeks, sluts, bloods, wastoids, dweebies, dickheads, they all adore him. They think he's a righteous dude.
I spent probably an hour this week on Baby Jessica. Remember the chick in the well?
Of course.
Well, it turns out she caught herself some domestic violence charges this week. And I thought, that's our show. We got to do a show. And I thought, I worked on it. I can't get 30 minutes out of some kid that fell in a well. So here we are.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of something funny, and I got nothing.
I mean, it's kind of funny that she's back in the news. Oh my God, what did she fall into this time? Oh no, she beat her boyfriend's, I don't know, beat her something's up, her domestic partner. And it looks like a couple of miles away from the very hole that first got her fame.
So she's not a big traveler.
No, she's still right there, that little town in Texas.
Damn.
That's all I could get. I really tried. I tried my best to come up with a Baby Jessica episode. And, she did fall in a well. And I remember, my God, man, it was on every newscast. She was there for like 40 something hours. And it was wall to wall Baby Jessica. I don't know if it was summer practices. I don't know when it was, but I was getting my ankle taped up before practice. And they had the news station on. And they gave an update. Baby Jessica still in the well. And I remember I remember the manager of the team. He was a doctor. He was our medical doctor was a coach. And I remember him saying out loud, God, he like cursing and like, people are taking this rough. Like,
it's just one kid. It's one kid.
Just put one of those crane things down there from the arcade. It's gonna let her slip out every once in a while. That's part of the scam. That's how they get extra tokens. But they'll get her out of there. And sure enough, they did. And she lived to beat her boyfriend up and
beat her boyfriend up. Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Probably have.
Yeah. There's just not very much funny about that. We might as well do an episode about the Challenger blowing up.
No one would ever do an episode about that.
Scott, there's humor in everything.
I will direct people to the February 13th of this year on the Free Nights and Weekends podcast website. We've got a full episode about that. So you can make fun of it.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah. A longtime listener, Jason Dean, said, did you tell the joke? What's the last thing the teacher said to her husband before she left? You feed the dog, I'll feed the fish. I don't think that's appropriate.
Oh my God.
Yeah. That's not appropriate. It's very, very Gen X how we handled trauma, but I'm not going to allow that on my broadcast. I'm not going to say that and have it on the podcast.
All right. So you actually did an episode on that. That's awesome.
Yeah. It was hilarious.
What's great about that is I was joking. And you're like, nope, hold my beer, man.
No.
February 13th. Yeah.
Yeah, it was our Valentine's Day feel-good special.
Yeah, of course it was.
This year. Yeah, it's pretty good.